Alright, welcome to episode 2 of gameplay analysis. Today we're going to be looking at a clash on Ultra Flame. So this is a quick play game. We're going to be highlighting solo playing in a team environment, specifically playing in Destiny 2. Destiny 2 relies, with a lower time to kill, Destiny 2 relies a lot more on team shotting. However, it is still possible to be an effective split player. It is harder to do and it requires a lot more thought process going into the situation. And hopefully this gameplay will, following with the analysis, hopefully this gameplay will highlight a lot of the processes that you need to be aware of if you're going to be playing as a split player. And you can take some points out that will improve your gameplay and make you more mindful about when to be a split player or how to be a split player. Destiny 1 made you learn some pretty bad habits when it comes to solo splitting, in terms of that you can use your abilities to kind of just overpower the enemy and using the quick time to kill to make 1v2s more possible. This can be done in Destiny 2, however, it is a lot more difficult to do so. And today I'm going to be showing you how. So this is a quick play game. It is played as a team of 2, so I'm playing with a friend. However, there is little to no communication between us, and even though this gameplay does not highlight a competitive mindset, I believe it's a good example to show you the questions you have to ask yourself, and the thought processes that go into splitting. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Alright, so we are playing on Ultra Flame, and as you can spawn in, there's a bunch of things you can do to think about the situation as it comes in. I'm trying to get my draw tool on, but it's not working. I'm just going to restart it. There we go. Alright. So it's Ultra Flame, it is Clash, and the sad thing about Destiny 2 is that you rarely actually reach the score limit. Notice we have Dawnblade, Stormcaller, no that's I believe that's Stormcaller, Bowstaff, and Voidwalker, question mark? I'm pretty sure. And our team has a Golden Gun, 2 Sentinels, and a Stormcaller. That isn't really important, however, you can use this UI later on in conjunction with the feed to find a lot of information that may not be instanced on your radar. Now, at the start of the game, you have 3 major ways you can go. You can go all the way outside and challenge on the edge there, and then you've got like the archway. That's a typical flank route. You have going that way, whereas you go to the far right and end up with that circle area. That's where a lot of people tend to go. Or you can choose to go jump over here and go straight ahead, and you reach the other circle area guided by the wall there, and that's also your secondary spawn point. I'm going to go this way. I like to go this way because it gets me a cheeky angle on the archway sightline. I can use, there's going to be a block there, I can use it on top of it to get a downward sight angle on it, which means that I have the inherent advantage. So, let's see. So I go around the outside, nothing's really seriously happening. I'm looking at my radar. I have a friend that's following me, and I've got 2 people that behind me. By the position of these 2 guys, it's pretty certain to assume that no one is going the far outside route. So I've just got 1 guy following me, and even though I don't know where these 2 guys are going to go, it's a fair assumption that they're going to go somewhere towards this center zone here, which means that we're all going to engage in the center real zone, and we can all engage on the same person, hopefully get some team shots in. So I go all around the outside. Alright, so I jump on this block, and this is where I start talking about verticality. Verticality in Destiny 2 is really important. There's a lot of horizontal gameplay that is emphasized, and because time to kill is a little bit more lenient, let's say, using verticality to your advantage is actually really, really good in getting the first couple of shots off. So if you can, whenever you can, if you can get a sightline that's slightly higher in elevation to where you're going to be aiming at, that's also a really, really good thing to think about when you're doing your engagements. Firstly, because you can get the first shot off, and they have to manually readjust their aim higher to get you. So in this engagement, I'm going to be looking for someone to come out of here. This is where I'm expecting them to come up from, but also be aware that they can come up from up here. I'm expecting them to come around from this corner, so I'm going to train my reticle kind of here, but in doing so, I am opening up to someone coming from above here and open the shutter. However, because it's such a long way away, the snap to is what I'm going to call it when you snap your reticle up. The snap to is a lot easier to make the adjustment, as it's really, really just small. It's just a small way you got to readjust. So I'm expecting someone to come out of here. However, I'm also looking at someone to come out from top just in case I read it wrong. So now a guy's come up from on top, which is good. I get the first shot off. He's sprinting, which is great, which means I get 3 shots and he can't do damage. And he's gone to the left, and this guy is also firing on the same guy. I've got my teammate behind me who's also now looking at this sight line, or going to be looking at the sight line there where there's that secondary circle room that I was talking about. So now we've got a couple of options. I can hook around the left and go all the way outside to actually engage this guy, or I can hook through here now because I've got all this open space over here that is now under our control. This guy is not going to be looking to engage because he's really, really low health, and because we have such a great numbers advantage in this situation. So I'm going to cut through here and get into this open area and try to do some damage on the other people that may be over to the right. Actually, I go around the left-hand side. Forgive me. I jump. I use verticality again to stop myself from getting turned and burned if they're expecting me to come around the corner. So I'm up above them and I see 2 people. This is the guy that I know is really, really low health, so I'm going to be using my sidearm to take this guy out. Then I'm going to be rotating onto this guy, but this guy is the guy I'm trying to kill. It's okay if I get damage on this guy, but it's not the primary goal. Finish it on with a sidearm. Alright, so now I'm taking a look at the situation. I'm at relatively low health, so I can't really hope to engage to kill this guy. The only hope I do have is to put as much damage that I confidently can on this guy before backing out to the left, where you've got that little outside balcony area, and using that as cover and then reassessing the situation. I've also got my shade step up, so I can twirly bird down to the left-hand side and take stock of the situation and then make decisions based on what's going to happen from there. So I don't get a lot of shots in. I kind of just wait around here. I see someone on my radar straight ahead of me. He's pinging the radar here, which means he's somewhere in this vicinity. Because I've got no sightlines on him here and I've got no sightlines on him here. So I'm assuming that he's being blocked by my vision here. I don't have to really worry about the guy behind me. The reason there's 2 things on the radar is because I'm turning so quickly, so there's only one guy. He's not really like that much of a thing to deal with because I do have this wall on the left-hand side that's completely blocking vision. If he does want to engage, he has to come all the way around, which means I have the inherent advantage because I can instantly just switch back to my sidearm and burn him down. So right now, even though I'm completely safe from the guy on the left, I'm free to engage on the guy straight ahead. I look, I can't see him. I look to the left to see if I can now pick this guy because I now have a teammate that's next to me and we have a numbers advantage. I look, I don't see him, but I see that he's above. You see that he's like in this middle portion of my radar. That means he's now above me and I've just made a mistake. So quickly I turn around. I try to save the kill, but unfortunately he gets the kill on Aura, so I have to run him down. I run him down, reload, grab power ammo. Now that I've got power ammo and now that it's a sniper, my primary goal now is to kind of use my teammates as bait, and I'm going to try hang back and get the longer sight line so these shots are much more easier to obtain. So I see 2 guys. I don't want to engage on this guy. This guy's pretty easy because he's not doing anything. I get a body shot, but it registers as a headshot, so it's okay. Second guy walks in. I was actually aiming at the guy over here, but this guy walks in, so it doesn't even matter. And kind of watching the sight line. When you're in scope, try not to be in scope for more than like 3 to 4 seconds. Otherwise, you're starting to tunnel vision pretty hardcore, and that's a bad idea because when you can get flanked really easily. And because the sight line is only really showing that part of the map in my scope, that means I've got all this dead area here that people can engage and get free shots on, and I can't see them. So I reload. I go around the right hand side to see if he does, if he tries to do a cheeky cutback and re-engage around this side. That means I can scope in and instantly get the shot on. But I'm not looking to push. I'm generally looking to get faces. He goes above. I miss the first shot and switch out. That's a good idea. If you do miss a shot, take a maximum of 2 shots. But on your first shot, you have to really think about, is it worth going for the second shot, or is it more worth just switching out? More often than not, it's just worth switching out to a primary and just taking the fight as it is. Scope in. This guy's blocked by a Titan barricade, so there's nothing I can do. I just watch and make sure that if the shield goes down, I can pop him. I'm expecting spawners to come out of either this area here or this area here to my right, because the guy who died over here, we have 1 death on the teammate. That's the guy we just killed. All 3 of the enemies are up, and we have a teammate who's just recently died to a pulse rifle. This is when you're looking at the feed, so we're over here. So I'm expecting the other 3 people to be somewhere in this larger vicinity over here. Whether they're coming around from the left hand side and they're going to come through this doorway here is different, and I'm just going to try and take both points as well as I can, and being ready to instantly disengage if it comes up to somewhere I'm not looking at. So I get shot from the right. I try to look for a vertical scope, but I get bonked down by Aura, which means that he's backing out, and if he's backing out, it's not a good idea to engage because I've got a sniper rifle. I'm looking down to the guy to the left, but I'm noticing that he gets killed by a pulse rifle, so I'm not really worried about this guy. As far as I know, this guy is dead, so I'm now going to be looking at that secondary sight lane where I was originally shot from and try and get him to pick onto this guy. So I look down, I don't see anyone. I see a guy from the left, but he gets killed, so he gets killed as well. And now we have 2 dead remaining, and one's there and one's there, and I have a ping on my radar straight ahead. So my job is to now either cut this sight line off where this warlock's coming through, and then instantly rotate to the right hand side where there might be an extra person that's gaining down on Aura. I see a guy, I go for the body shot, but I'm not confident in taking the shot, so I don't even pull the trigger, not worth it wasting ammo. I see another guy on the left that's taken to the right, and I can't rotate quick enough. If I start to rotate, then it's going to be a 1v1 for my teammate, Aura. It's going to be a 1v1 for him, but if I stay here and pull out my Mida, maybe it was a better choice to pull out the sniper, but if I pull out the Mida, if he jumps up here, I can get Mida shots on him, which means that it's now a team fight. He puts a barrier down. I get 3 shots on this guy. It's not good enough to get the kill. I'm kind of looking to see where the enemy is, but I've noticed that Aura is now behind me, which means that he's completely disengaged. It's not really worth hanging around. So I back out. I try to get so the idea now is I'm rotating around the corner to try to get a complement angle to what Aura is getting. A complement angle is basically you've got an area, one guy's here, and you just make a quick rotation to get a different sight line. And then you've got one enemy or enemies that are getting shot from 2 different directions, so it's easier to get picks. So I rotate. I'm kind of listening for shots. Notice there's shots coming from the right hand side, which means that Aura is in a fight, and I'm trying to look for someone. I see a guy, I get a body shot, and I rotate back to Aura because I'm expecting them now, because we've had teammates in this left-hand corner here for so long. I'm expecting them to start spawning in their initial spawn, which means they're going to be coming from the right-hand side. I scope in to try to see someone. I notice some feet, so I scope out and try to catch the guy. And luckily I get him with a Mida. I'm trying to keep them alive. I'm going to regroup with them because I've still got a sniper shot, so I am trying to use these guys as bait. I see a guy do some really bad Mida shots. I had a ping on the radar that a guy is kind of around here, so I throw this nade as kind of a deterrent. If he does go down there, he'll see the nade pop, and hopefully that will be enough for him to deter him for the time being, and then we're just going to focus on team shutting this guy down. He gets team shot. Because I know, because this guy was the guy that pinged on the left-hand side, that this area now is completely free of enemies, so I'm now fit to rotate down here and get a flank, and try pick off some stragglers if they disengage on low health. I'm using this wall and this wall as sightline blockers as much as I can. So if there is more, because I know there's more than one person here because I've got 2 pings on the radar, I'm using as much of the geometry of the map as possible to block sightlines, so I'm trying to reduce my chances of getting 1v2'd and trying to force 1v1s as much as I can, which is the big idea when you're trying to play a solo splitter. Luckily he's low health, and my teammate has now died. I've got a teammate close has died. Oh, that was crazy. Let's wipe the screen. I've got a teammate who's close has kind of died, and this is probably the guy that's killed him. He's now pushing this way, and he's got like terrible map awareness because he should be rotating towards me. My goal now is just to back up the way I came, and if he continues this way, try to get the easy shot when he kind of, instantly, naturally rotates back around to try and engage me.
Intent is unmatched, Hunter.
He gets killed, but I'm getting pings on my radar straight ahead. So now there is a guy in this safe spot that I was talking about. I have the sniper out, which means I can try to use the sniper to try to get a pick, and then instantly switch to my sidearm, which is a double Y. He doesn't see me. I get the headshot as he tries to run away. Try to get some cleanup shots, but nothing happens. So now we've killed all the enemies in their initial zone. I'm now expecting them to spawn in our initial. So now this whole area is free for me to rotate around and try to get different angles. I'm now out of sniper ammo, so I have to be relying on my miter. I don't really like using my miter, but whatever. So I try to get like complementary angles to what's happening. There's a guy straight ahead of me on the radar, and there's a guy kind of to the right that's also on the radar. From what I'm hearing on audio, this guy is in a firefight with one of my teammates. So I'm going to be paying attention to what appears on the feed to try to figure out what's going to be happening. As I zone in on trying to take this guy if he chooses to run through this corridor. He doesn't. I keep on rotating to support my teammate because one of my teammates is now dead. He gets in a melee fight and I just use a miter to take him out. Now, at this point, I see 2 people. Neither of them are relatively low health. So I want to back out. This is now a no-fight zone. I'm now in a 2v1 and I don't want to be part of this. The third guy rolls in, so I instantly just roll and get out of there. I'm paying attention to my radar. One guy is seemingly, there's a question mark on this right now, but one guy seems to be chasing me like hecka hard. So if I continue to run and this guy still continues to be on the back of my radar, I know he's going to be chasing me, so I can either turn and burn or try to use my teammate to get a team shot on him. Paying attention to the radar, he's still following me, so I'll look around for a turn and burn. I get some shots in, but it's not enough to get the kill. At this point, I do make a mistake. I've only lost the smallest bit of health, and he's lost at least, what's 2 lots of 29? 56? No, 58, sorry. So he's now lost like at least a third of his health. I'm now free to engage, particularly because I've got a sidearm out and the sidearm shreds. I'm now free to engage on this guy, and I can almost guarantee win the fight like 98% of the time, just based on health and my skill with gun. But I don't, because I wasn't paying attention to my health, so I choose to back away. I throw a knife just to make sure he doesn't want to do it, and then I just back away. I'm rotating to try to get shots on if there's a guy here. I do have a ping on my radar. And this guy here I know is the guy who's chasing me, but I'm trying to support the guy straight ahead because we have a dead player over here. So if there is an enemy that's going to come from this wall, or this wall here, I can like support him. But I've also got to be mindful that there is a player to my right who's now regenerating health and is going to be up to my ass. I look and I don't see someone, and this guy is really after me, so I try to take him out with a sidearm, but I just fail. Right idea, wrong execution. Alright, spawning in, I'm trying to take stock of the situation. I hear fights happening to the right-hand side. Like, this guy has loaded rockets at Shrine, but he also just died, and particularly to an SMG. That means that this guy here is the guy who died, and there is someone in the very, very near vicinity of him who's an enemy because he got killed with an SMG, and SMGs don't have a greater range. So I'm going to be looking this way to look for a fight. trying to force a 1v1 and particularly try to pick off someone if they engage with low HP. So I see someone, I try to get shots onto the guy to the right before rotating this guy to the left. Because I know or have a feeling, this is kind of more feel than knows, particularly in this situation, that I now have the perfect flank, as in that these two guys are not yet aware that I'm still here. I put a shot onto this guy, I put a shot onto that guy, in the hopes that if this guy engages my teammate, who's actually Aura, if he engaged on this way, he's now kind of low on HP, where my teammate, I don't know what his health on. So if I can do damage on the guy who's actually pushing him down, so he's relatively low health, that means that his 1v1 is a lot safer in killing this guy, which means I can now focus on this guy who has no idea that I'm here, and I'm just going to get 4 easy shots on him and get the kill. So again, unfortunately he trades. I see I get golden gun, and this is kind of a questionable play because we did just kill 2 people, which means there are only 2 people left alive. But I do see a guy straight ahead, and I kind of do want to get the kill, so I get that. I try to look for someone else. I'm not sure where he went to. I think he went down the right-hand side, but I'm not going to pay it. Some random comes out of nowhere. I missed twice, but for some reason the third one registers, and now I get a ping on my radar that someone is now behind me, so I turn to re-engage on this guy. I get a kill, but I'm also now on really low health, and there are 2 people in the map. There's 2 people here. One's in that doorway just to the right here, to the left, sorry, and one is the guy in that engage who's now down by a stairway. So I kind of don't want to take any fights at the moment, but I do want to try and get some damage out and deter them from coming near me. So I kind of look, he gets picked off. I'm hugging this wall to try and get my health back, and I actually disengage. Whether or not this was the right idea is questionable, because if I do disengage, I do open myself up from getting shot from where the staircase is. I really opened myself for getting shot there, and in a competitive game I might actually got some extra shots on him, and I could have actually died. So whether or not that this play was questionable, the right idea was you need to get disengage and particularly just get your health back. That was the goal of the play. So turn around again, or a pot super. I know he's going to get kills with it, so I try like pick off as many people, and now I'm just basically running behind his ass to collect orbs. Notice how I'm not pushing to the right to get extra angles on these now 2 guys. I'm not pushing to the right because I know that if I push too far out and then a guy appears around this corner, it's now either at least a 2v1 or at worst it's a 3v1. And now I'm way out of position, even though I do have a teammate here. Because it's a 3v2, let's fix this, because it's now a 3v2, the odds still aren't in our favor, and we can actually just get melted down. So I'm kind of sticking here. I'm expecting more people to come around to this side, so I'm kind of just playing it safe and being on this wall and trying to get pokes when they go to the left. And then if I re-engage to escape to the right, I'll get some extra shots on them. But I'm not really looking to take fights. He jumps over, I miss miter shots, and I shoot some friends in the back. I get some extra shots on. I see a guy straight ahead, and this is where I make a bad play. I see a guy straight ahead, so I think I'm good to engage. But I didn't hear because I haven't heard any audio cues that my health is low. The sad thing is, I think that is where the audio cue for low health happens. So if I took one more bullet, I would have had the audio cue that I'm on red health, and that disengage here, even though I'm going to jump over this box and try to get the height advantage, disengage is actually a bad idea. Because I'm at such low health. And even though I get the jump on this guy, there is a good to fair chance that because I'm on such low health, at best, we're going to trade, and at worst, I'm just going to die. Go away, antivirus. So I get the jump on this guy. I get really close to killing him, but I eventually die. Now I'm just rotating around people to try and get information on where they are on the map. Playing it slow. I'm expecting, because we are at candles again, I am expecting them to spawn from the right hand side. And I get the knowledge from this also from my radar. So I'm trying to make a decision. I kind of want to kind of regroup, but I also want to start looking to the right-hand side. So I got a guy immediately to my right, and I hear on the audio that he's now engaged with this guy, so I'm free to engage on the guy straight ahead. I try to get the melee off, but I miss. Clean him up with a sidearm. And now, because I have time and opportunity, I can pick up heavy ammo. Or power ammo, as they call it in D1. Only pick up power ammo if you are in the vicinity, so you're like less than 10 meters away, and it's big and, there is less than 5 seconds on the timer, or it has already spawned. That's the only reason you should be grabbing power ammo. If you're more than 10 meters away, if you're really the only one here, then you can go for it. But if you're waiting for more than like 5 seconds and you're literally just staring at a wall to grab it, that's a bad idea. Just leave it, Mo. It's gonna, if you've got control of this whole situation in this area of the map, so leave it for a teammate. I mean, it's not that important. You can now push up and you've got all this free space for you to get kills of. If you're just staring at a wall waiting to happen, they regain control of the map. So I grab power ammo, only because I'm the only one really here. This guy just spawned in behind me. I see a guy on my radar who's going to be coming from this area because it's the only way he can come from when he's pinging on the radar straight ahead. If he's coming from the doorway, he'll be pinging on this side of the radar, and if he's coming from the right-hand side, he'll be pinging on this side of the radar. So he's going to come from this area, so I put my sight line about here, so if he runs in, I'm just going to get the easy headshot, which is exactly what he does. I kind of head glitch for a bit. I'm looking for people to come out of here. I'm de-scoping so I can look at my radar and look at the feed. Reload. I hear a fight happening to the left and some guy just dies. I look to the left. I'm not seeing anyone on the radar yet, so I'm not really like concerned, but now he appears on the radar. So I go back to where the initial point was, and I try to get a sight line, the exact same sight line as I got on the first guy, but unfortunately that I miss. I hear shots happening to the right hand side, and I've just missed a guy who's now in this area over here. He's like further around, he's come just through that doorway. This fight here is not really my importance. I have a guy behind me. I think it's Aura. I have a guy behind me. I have a feeling that if he wants to take a fight, he's going to take the right hand fight. I'm now free to engage on this guy. However, using a sniper is a bad idea because I think I'm a sniper who I'm going to like rotate on the fire outside and try to get a different angle. So I rotate all the way outside. That's a pretty bad play. I jump on here to see if I can get an angle, and I try to do another deterrent nade. Meanwhile, two teammates here that were taking the fight to the right have died, so now I now know there's enemies that are going to be coming out of this situation. I'm going to be looking to clean up some kills. Instead, I turn around because I think I do have the sniper, so I'm kind of just like trying to play it safe and try to keep sniper ammo for as long as I can. And then I'm just trying to play it safe. I swear I hit this guy with a headshot, but it counts as a body shot, so I'm not too like annoyed with it, but whatever. Alright, this guy popped Storm Trance, so I'm just loading up. And I'm looking at this sight line. He's probably going to be coming out of this wall here, so I don't have anything to worry about. So I'm just going to aim. I know my reaction time isn't that great, and his movement isn't that great, so as soon as he pops out, I can't get a shot on. So I do play it safe, and I aim a little bit to the left, so I do have time to readjust just in case. He comes out, and I deck him, and Aura hits him with a suppressor nade as well. Which means if I missed, he would have been absolutely bogus anyway. So, minor shots are coming in from this wall. We've also got a guy straight ahead. I don't really want to push up further than here unless I intend to engage on this guy. And if I do engage on this guy, it has to be hardcore. Because if I hang around up here, I'm just going to have the same fate as this guy. Regardless of my teammate being to the left. So, I'm trying to get picks on the guy behind. I actually deck that guy through the other guy, and then he gets damaged with the explosion nade. This guy, luckily, this guy takes out the guy immediately to our right, so I'm free to push up now and try to get the triple kill because I'm greedy, and I don't get it. I try to throw a nade, but it's not there, and I'm basically just looking down the miter to try to clean up the kill if he pokes again. He pokes around the left when I was aiming a little bit to the right, and it's okay. I'm not really paying attention. I'm not really like going for kills here. I'm kind of just providing support when I can. We got a ping on the radar that someone is coming through here, and in fact, it's actually that guy right there. If you spotted him, but we also got a guy to our left. This guy over here is really, really not important anymore because he backed out, and this guy is the guy who's threatening my life, so I'm going to take him out. I think I try to get some shots on him and then back out. Because he got the first shots on, I don't really want to take this fight, regardless of the fact that he didn't actually hit me. But he knows I'm there, and he's now like post/pre-firing, depending on what your point of view is. So I pull out the sidearm, and if he engages further, we'll take him out. But I'm also being aware that I do have a teammate to the left of me, so it's actually also okay that if he stops firing, and he's probably going to reload off firing or switch weapons, that we are now free to push in and get the kill. So I wait to see what happens. He stops firing, so I go in for the engage, and we just melee him down. I'm now low HP, so I'm just going to chill in this room for a little bit. Just wait for my health to come back, look around. Okay. This pull of the golden gun is super questionable. The reason why, there is no information, and there are 2 people dead. There's no information telling me that enemies are nearby and it's actually worth pulling golden gun out. 2 people died, 2 enemies died kind of over here, so the chance of them spawning in this area is really, really low, and odds are they're going to be spawning behind us. So what I'm going to do is, because I pulled golden gun out, I now have to make a play. I can't let this run out, otherwise I look like a complete twat. So I'm going to run this way. And if I get pings on the radar that someone's over here, then I'm going to go over there. If not, I'm going to instantly turn back around. And my goal is to go that way and try to get up people when they come out of spawn. So I look, I don't see anyone on my radar, so I'm instantly turning back around. I hear aura in a fight, which means my prediction was correct that people are spawning in behind me. So I stay vertical to try to get the initial shots off, and I get 3 guys, which is actually really good. It's a good play. I get power ammo, which maybe was the right play or not. I mean, I was right next to it, so I kind of did take it. And I was hitting shots with the sniper rifle, so I did feel safe getting it. I try to rotate on this guy. I'm expecting him to actually be in this room, but he's actually just below me, but he dies. So I rotate to the outside. I rotate to the outside to try to get kills. Alright, let's shift back a bit. So I jump on this a bit. I hear Daybreak being cast, and then I also pick up in the feed that Sentinel Shield is also being cast, which means that Aura is probably going to try to take out the Daybreak guy. Because I got a ping on my radar straight ahead, and this guy here died, there's a good to fair chance to believe that whatever enemy that killed this guy is now going to be poking out over here. Which means that me, with a sniper rifle, has a prime opportunity to deck this guy as soon as he comes out. The problem is I don't know what health he's on, and I don't know how hard he's going to challenge. So I'm going to like kind of put my reticle there and try to just like ambush him. But if I miss, then that's whatever. So I put in, the unlucky thing is that he challenged before I was ready. So I take a snapshot in kind of like a panic. And I try to take a very second shot, and I just miss him, which is like really bad opportunity. And my big mistake here was after that second shot, I think he's now like fully aware of me, which now it's really bad to take the 3rd shot. And what I should really be doing is just like backing out. Because I just missed that one, I kind of do want to challenge this guy, and it's a really bad idea, and I think I do pay for it. So yeah, I die. He gets cleaned up though, so whatever. I spawn in, I'm looking for information. These guys die to a miter multi-tool, but the guy who killed them dies. I kind of veer around wildly looking for like shots on. And I think I get it, but there's now a guy to the left. So now I try to rotate and use my sidearm, and here we actually get him team shotted down, which is actually really good. I get a guy pinged on my radar straight ahead of me and to the left. Because he's not straight ahead, I know he's like kind of to the right here, so he's expecting him to come up to the right, and that's where he is. But because he backed out and there's a guy coming into our left here, this guy is now more pressing than this guy in terms of engagement, so I instantly rotate to the left-hand side and try to take him out. I throw a nade and he engages at the same time, which is like really bad, and then he instantly pops Fist of Havoc. Because I've got nothing to combat him, I've got no grenade now, I've only got a knife. and I've got no super and I've got no power ammo. Engaging on this guy is suicide, so I'm just going to back the heck out. That guy casts Sentinel Shield. Aura takes out the guy who was Fist of Havocing, so now it's kind of safe to engage. I try to get a flank. This is a really good way to get a flank because the Sentinel Shield guy can only either melee. He can only melee or use his frisbee. I now have a pretty good chance to get a flank and use my energy weapon for the 10%. If you do not know this, energy weapons do 10% extra damage to people who are in supers. So I'm going to switch to my energy weapon and try to get some shots in. If I can get, and then if he turns on me, I'm going to instantly back out. But I'm trying to keep ahead of my radar to see if there's any more targets that I can take off instead of this guy here who's using the Sentinel Shield. So I come around, I get 2 hints on my radar. So I've got a guy here and a guy to my right. Because I hear the frisbee being thrown or something happening further to my right, I take a chance and I assume that this guy here is the Sentinel Shield guy, which means that this guy here is going to probably either be following him or looking in his direction because he has the super and he's popping orbs. So there is this is where you make a call depending on whether you're playing competitive or non-competitive. Because we're versing randoms, there's like an 80% chance, I'm just throwing out numbers here, I'm going to assume there's like an 80% chance that he's not looking at the flank I'm about to make, so he's looking this way, which means that I'm free to engage on this guy. The catch is, I know that once I start shooting, this guy, the Sentinel Shield guy, is going to be turning back around to engage on us because he's got such a large ping on his radar because there is 2 people here. So the priority is I'm going to try to take the first guy out, and I'm going to try to use this wall for as long as I can to avoid the Sentinel Shield guy, and the hope is that I get a kill and trade. In my mind, a trade is a good thing here. So I get it, and I trade, and this guy dies like a champ. I spawn in again, and the game ends. That was about it. Alright. So, while we move to the end screen. Alright, we finish up. I end up doing 6k damage, which is like amazingly good. I'm pretty sure all that is due to the sniper rifle doing like bogus amounts of damage. So, in the end, while I played, if you're going to be a solo splitter, you need to play off your team. Off your team. You need to play off your team. You don't have to play with your team, but you need to be conscious about what these 3 guys are doing in terms of whether what you do is the right decision or not. If you engage on a guy, I'm just going to draw a radar here, and I'm going to draw a feed here. You use, and you've got the boxes now. This is actually really, really good. You got the boxes at the top of the map that tell you enemies who are also dead or alive. And it also tells you what subclass they are, even though I think that's actually largely unimportant. So you have 3 main sources of information that tell you what your team is doing and what the enemy is doing. You've got a feed here that tells you who's dead. You can count the amount of people who's dead if they've disappeared off the feed. But that's a secondary source. You can see how many people have died. You can see the most important thing, I reckon, is who killed them and what they killed and what they died like to. Because if they're using an SMG, if a guy dies here and he died to an SMG, there is no way in heck that he died to a guy with an SMG that is larger than like 10 meters away from him. There's like no chance because it does like no damage beyond that distance. So then you can assume that there's a guy really, really close to him and using an SMG. Same with a sidearm. That's what you can assume from using the kill feed. With the radar, if you're going to be doing a 3-1 split and you're that one person, you need to be conscious of what you're doing and how you're appearing on the enemy's radar. If you're appearing as a slight blip, you actually want to get out of that and make sure you use that. If you get a blip, that means you're appearing on their radar, and you actually want to back out a little bit so you don't appear on their radar. But that blip tells you where they are on the map, so you can make a conscious decision whether you want to flank even further around or actually cut in and take the engage. If you're banking on the fact that you can go further around, you're kind of hoping that your team doesn't do something until you hook back in and you start appearing on their radar. The goal is that as soon as you appear on their radar, they start fighting at some point. The idea is that you enter the fight when they're preoccupied, so you can get easy picks, and that relies on your team being able to do something. If you start pinging their radar and there's nothing really happening on the map, and then you're pinging here, and this is like, if we assume that this is their radar, you're pinging here, and the rest of your teammates over there, of course they're going to turn around and instantly turn and burn you, and then you just made a bad play. So you need to get out of that radar, and then you have to be paying attention that if someone splits off to try to take the 1v1, then you have to pay attention to how many people is trying to split off and whether or not you're in an advantageous position to take 1v1s. So you got to try, if you're going for a flank, you need to try to think of being off their radar for as long as possible and actually using the small radar pings that you get to try to figure out where they are on the map, because you only need 1 second of information if you're looking for if you're looking at the radar and you're paying attention. You only need a small amount of information to tell you on the radar to tell you where they are on the map. Because if they're over here, that means, let's say, so I'm going to draw a really rudimentary map of Altar of Flame. So you got this open area here, you've got pipes, and then there's the thing here, blah blah blah. If you're here and this is your radar and you're getting pings there, that means that they're over here in this quadrant. They're not further around the side, so you can do this little cheeky flank here. They're in this area, so they're either, if you've got that wall here, and this is that center zone, they're either on that side of the wall to the left side of the wall. There's a fair chance that if they're pinging just the edge of your radar, that they're probably over on the right hand side of the wall, so you're free to keep on going to the right hand side. This is when if there's nothing happening, however, you have to assume that they're on the left hand side, and going further out might actually be a bad play because you can get turned on. So that's what I mean by play off your team. You need to be paying attention to what your team is doing and what the enemy team is doing to make the right choice, because you want to engage. The second point is that you need to engage when something is happening. E-N-I-G. You want to engage when something is happening. So when something happens, so a fight happens, someone pops a super, or someone, let's say someone gets sniped. When something happens, that means that they're not paying attention to what's happening on the map, because they're probably going to be paying attention to what happens on the screen. In a competitive environment, the window, if you're in a competitive environment, the window of opportunity that you get when something happens gets smaller and smaller, so you have to be more and more conscious, and you have to be super, super quick when you're playing, okay? When you're playing as a split. Which brings me to my third point. You need to play super fast. And I don't mean this in a meme point of view. You can't hang around any position long, because if you do, you're probably going to get collapsed upon, particularly in a competitive environment. You need to play really quickly. That means you need to be moving quickly, you need to be engaging and then disengaging quickly. You need to be playing the game really fast. So one major point is that you're hard to keep track of, but two, that you don't put yourself into a disadvantageous position by being out of position, because if you are playing a 3-1 split, 70% of the time you are going to be playing out of position. That's majority of the time you are probably going to be out of position in terms of something happening, which means that if you do get turned and burned on, you need to be ready to back out at a moment's notice. That's why I'm talking about playing on the radar as well, because if you're noticing that people are hanging on the radar for longer than you should be, that's a signal that they've noticed you, and you need to really start thinking about either disengaging or forcing a fight. And so that brings to the 4. You want to make your own. You want to force or make your own fight. Make your own fights. And by number 4, what I mean is that you don't want the enemy to really engage on you first. You want to be the one that starts firing first. I mean, this is kind of like an obvious thing to make. But if you're doing the flank, you want to start firing on them before they start firing on you. And if you are like forced into a position where they find out and they start tracking you down, you need to start thinking you either need to back out or try get a pick and then like absolutely book it. Because in Destiny 2, you can't really force a 1v2. What you can do is just get a pick on one person and then just run for your life. It's very rarely that you'll be able to 1v2 with any type of confidence. In competitive environments, that just won't work. Even then, if you're caught out of position, the chance for you to actually turn and burn depends really on where you are on the map. Because if you are on the map and they can only come at you one at a time, that means you're okay to kind of turn, but it depends what you're using. Because then you have to have a really high kill time weapon, so you need to either use like a nade with something, or you need to use like a power ammo, or you need to use like a really, really good like secondary. So maybe like if you've got like a sidearm and you're kind of forcing in like a really cramped zone, and then you can back out like straight away. That's what you kind of need to be looking at. Primarily, if you're going to be turning and burning in a competitive environment with a 2v1, you need to use a grenade, and your grenade has to be on point. If you think that your grenade is busted and that it's useless, then just don't even think about it. Just run. So when you take all these things into consideration, it is still possible to play as an off-role in Destiny 2 and play by yourself, but you have to be paying attention to what your team is doing, and you have to be paying it, and you have to make a lot of assumptions to figure out what the enemy team is doing and what your team is going to be doing. So it is still possible, but there's a lot more thought processes that have to go into it, and it's a lot more difficult to do. And as I said, in more competitive environments, your window of opportunity to do stuff with it gets smaller and smaller, mainly because people pay more and more attention to what's happening on the UI, because the UI tells you all the information you need to know. There's almost, at any point in time, and this is where I talk in the previous video about frames of information, there's almost no point throughout the game that you can't pause it and look at the radar. This is something that you can do. As soon as something appears on your radar, or as soon as you like either spawn in, if particularly like mid game, if you spawn in or just before you're about to like make a fight, pause the video, and I want you to look at all the information that's displayed on the screen. I want you to look at the feed. I want you to look at how many people are alive or dead. I want you to have a look at how many things are pinging on the radar. I want you to have a look at if there's skulls on the map. Even they stay there for a little bit longer than people, like they'll hang around for a little bit, and even X's on the radar, they'll hang around for a little bit longer, even after like your teammates have spawned, and they give you like tons of information, particularly if you've paid attention to what that is. Because if they've died to a close quarters weapons, that means that person is still probably in that vicinity, and that means that's a no-no zone. So you kind of the UI tells you a heck of a lot of information, and how well you like register this information and then interpret it like really defines how well you play the game. Because you can have like really great gun skill mechanics and like still suck in terms like you'll reach your ceiling really high because you're not making like informed decisions or and when I say educated guesses, like how good your predictions can be, basically just played on playtime. Because if you've played this game, you've put like 100 games into it. I put, I think, 120 games into it already. No, it's way more than that. Anyway, because you start running into situations that you've done before, and you run into trends like not good players that make and good players that make. Because let's like, to use something as a quick example, if you've got a wall, a good player will hug the wall like mostly, and a bad player might go all the way out before starting to come back in. It's like these kind of the trends that you need to be paying attention. If one person is playing out of their mind, then that's the person you need to expect. And then if you have that information that tells you that this guy is like pretty decent, then you need to be starting to make informed decisions and start playing more cautiously. Whereas if you just started to stomp on some teams, you can like start doing some over positioning. So like in terms of making like really good competitive decision, this video isn't like great because as you can see, we stomped them. Like it was basically a gutter stomp, and that's what you get in quick play. But the thing is that this video is really good because it shows you a lot of situations that you can play off your team that gets you the right things. The difference is in a competitive environment, the amount of plays that I would make playing an off thing would be like a third at the most of what I'm doing right now. So it's just a good video to show you like tons of different things. So if you're looking to get stuff out of this, and if you're wanting to play as an off player, then you need to be starting to look at your UI a lot and trying to make informed decisions to what happens from there. Tips, if you're starting to look, the UI is a big one. I've touched upon in a previous video I've looked at things called frames of information. And this is when you look back on your replays. I'll just finish writing. And this is where you look back on your replays and you pause it when you either spawn in, when you just before you take a fight, pop super, if you're doing a largely roaming super, that's like important, or even almost randomly when things happen on the map. So so like 2 people die. Doesn't matter if it's on your team or it's on the enemy team. And that just means you just pause. If you're doing replays, you pause the replay and then you look at what's happened on the map and try and make informed decisions to where the team is. So this is where you look at the feed, you look at who killed them, you look at what they killed them with. If someone gets like a 2v, like a double kill, but then trades on that second kill, then that gives you a lot of information. And you basically just pause the video and look at your screen for as long as you can to try and get as much information you can. And then when you look at it in game, it doesn't become like I've got to search the radar to look for this guy and then like think about the decisions you got to make. You're kind of just doing like a quick checkpoint. You're like, okay, I want to do blah. Radar's telling me that's okay. Feed's telling me that's okay. People are alive. No one's on the radar. Let's go for it. That's what I mean by like in game, you don't have really time to think, but you do have time to react to the information that's displayed on screen. And that's what separates like really competitive players from good players, is how quickly they interpret the information that's displayed on the screen and how well they can make good informed decisions from it. And that only becomes from like really paying attention to what happens and reviewing your replays. So that will just about do it for this gameplay analysis. If you do have any questions, please send me your questions to my Twitter @IMSASSSI. So that's I'm Sassi. And if you do have a replay you want me to review, tweet me with it as well, and we'll discuss the possibility of doing something like this. Thank you. My name is Sassi. This has been a gameplay analysis of 3-1 splitting. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.